A person has a soul, and a fist has a soul. Some people say that times have changed, but there are always people searching in difficulties. Zhou Yuanjue, who achieved great success in the Red Falcon Fist, embarked on the path of pursuing the limits of humanity. In the tide of the times, in the long history, in the ancient myths on the edge of life and death, in the ordinary gaps abandon everything and search for the miracle that may not exist. The courage of humanity itself can transcend all constraints. Keywords of the novel. Invincible starts from the pinnacle of martial arts with no pop-ups. Invincible starts from the pinnacle of martial arts with no pop-ups. Complete collection download for TXT. Invincible starts from the pinnacle of martial arts with the latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. The Sound of 100 Falcons. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. The Sound of 100 Falcons. Donghua Kingdom, Wuhai. The sunrise rises in the east, and the dawn falls. In a room of the small villa in building A203 of Longyuan Community, the soft morning light is like a waterfall, shining through the transparent glass ceiling on Zhou Yuanjue's body. Zhou Yuanjue had clean and short hair, wearing a black tight-fitting suit on his upper body and a simple pair of sports shorts on his lower body. His muscular lines are very full and smooth, but they do not appear exaggerated. Every inch of flesh and skin seems like a perfect piece of art, just like the ultimate beauty of the human body created by those renowned sculptors. At this moment, he was in a peculiar posture. Support the ground with one foot on the right foot, lift the left foot off the ground, shrink to the abdomen, bend the knee slightly, and place the entire person's center of gravity downward. This was originally a movement that was extremely difficult to balance and could shake or fall at any time, but he stood up with a feeling of stillness like a mountain, standing tall and steady. His arms were raised like eagles spreading their wings, and his shoulders were frighteningly wide. It wasn't that his muscles were thick, but rather that he seemed to have a giant skeleton. At his upper arms, a clear spiral birthmark could be seen. Red Falcon Fist frame, soaring style. Ha! Chi, ha! Chi, Zhou Yuanjue maintained a posture like an eagle spreading its wings, with his chest and abdomen slowly undulating greatly. His breathing was extremely exaggerated, stirring up the airflow in the entire room of dozens of square meters. Most people, when they were in it, could probably feel the coolness of a vertical fan in all directions. Of course, before that feeling occurs, most people are likely to suffocate due to lack of oxygen. In fact, on the enclosed walls of the room, there are inconspicuous holes, which are the latest air exchange and purification devices that can exchange gases at the fastest speed, ensuring indoor air cleanliness and oxygen content above the horizontal line. The dawn fell, and the airflow swept over his body. At that moment, Zhou Yuanjue seemed to find the feeling of carrying the sky on his back, facing the strong wind in the sky, and the eagle hitting the sky. He suddenly opened his eyes, as if a falcon had locked onto its prey. His arms quickly congested, and his flesh slightly expanded, turning purple-red. Ya. In the next moment, countless fist shadows beyond the limits of ordinary human retina capture covered every corner of the room. The powerful force and speed tore and rubbed against the already turbulent airflow in the room, emitting a sharp sound similar to the chirping of birds. The extremely sharp sound, just listening to it, would make people feel like their hair is upside down and their scalp is tingling. If struck on the human body, no one knows how terrifying the damage would be. 30 fists, 60 fists, 90 fists, the sound of 100 falcons. After hitting the 100th punch, Zhou Yuanjue's movements came to a sudden halt and he stood in place. The shadow of the fist disappeared from the sky, and the soaring airflow in the room quickly calmed down. Hu! He slowly exhaled a breath. Shu! As he breathed, his tightly closed pores opened during the process of exerting force, and a strong breath and heat mixed with sweat caused a brief atomization around his body in this hot summer morning. The sound of the 100 falcons has finally been completed, and the Red Falcon Fist has truly come to fruition. The intense body temperature quickly dropped after stopping the movement, and the atomization phenomenon disappeared. Zhou Yuanjue's body surface appeared with a large number of fine beads of sweat, making him look slightly tired. Ordinary people, who continuously punch with all their strength in one breath, may feel exhausted within 10 punches. Those who have undergone professional training may spend more time continuously punching with one breath, but it is unimaginable to have a terrifying explosive force like Zhou Yuanjue, who continuously punches with one breath, producing over 100 punches, and maintaining a balanced punch without any decline. This requires terrifying lung capacity, a strong heart, tough blood vessels, unimaginable muscle strength, and rigorous strength techniques. Without achieving any standard, there is absolutely no possibility of achieving it. It is precisely because of this that 100 Falcons Roar has become the killing move of the Red Falcon Fist, using continuous attacks like a storm to crush all the defenses of the opponent. At the same time, this is also a sign of the Red Falcon Fist's cultivation and warrior's physical fitness level. Being able to fully unleash the sound of 100 falcons signifies that one's cultivation in the Red Falcon Fist has reached its maximum, and their physical fitness has reached an unimaginable peak. The Red Falcon Fist has been passed down to this day, and there are few recorded individuals who have achieved this level of cultivation. Even if Zhou Yuanjue's master was reborn, he would probably be very surprised that Zhou Yuanjue could practice the Red Falcon Fist to such a terrifying level. This is a legend. After 8 years of practicing martial arts, I have finally reached this point today. Zhou Yuanjue's eyes were lowered, and his face was neither happy nor sad. He was not moved by the fact that his martial arts had reached a new peak. Because he always believed that he would eventually reach this stage, even stronger. For him, this realm does not mean a new peak or the limit of the path of martial arts, it only means a new starting point. He is never satisfied with his immediate achievements, even though they are considered absolute pinnacle by many people. Life never stops, challenges never stop. After finishing his morning exercise, Zhou Yuanjue briefly washed up and checked the time. It was just 7 o'clock in the morning. He took out the tonic diet breakfast prepared in advance from the smart rice cooker. The faint fragrance of Chinese medicine makes people feel excited and appetizing. Ding! Before he could start enjoying breakfast, the phone next to him rang. It was not a message, but a special encrypted email. Zhou Yuanjue entered the password and opened the email. Tonight at 9 o'clock, at the Binjiang Tianhai Fist Arena, the opponent is the South Burma country Fierce Tiger Fist and Wu Hashan. Upon seeing this short encrypted email, Zhou Yuanjue's face remained calm. He quickly typed out a reply on his phone and sent it to the other party. This is the last time. After the email was sent, there was no reply from the opposite side for a long time, and Zhou Yuanjue was not worried. He sat down with his eyes down and began to eat the tonic diet in front of him. Ding! 15 minutes later, when Zhou Yuanjue was almost finished eating, his phone finally rang again. However, Zhou Yuanjue did not immediately check and seemed completely unaware, continuing to focus on eating breakfast in front of him. When the last tonic diet was taken, he closed his eyes. Gollum. His stomach made a dull sound, as if some kind of machine was working. About 3 minutes later, the muffled sound in his stomach stopped, and he opened his eyes again and picked up the phone beside him. You won, it's easy to say anything. The response from the other side was also very brief. Zhou Yuanjue didn't respond. With a calm expression, he locked his phone screen, tidied up the table, washed the dishes, and changed into slightly formal clothes. He left at 7:30 sharp, got in the car, and left the Longyuan community, heading towards Wuhai University. At exactly 8 o'clock, he had an early morning class. The black-tailed kite senior fighter was actually just his hidden profession, and his apparent main profession was actually a lecturer in the history department of Wuhai University. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Preparation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Preparation. History is the memory of human civilization. They are not just dead words, but also living souls. Through history, our souls can travel through time and space, returning to those tumultuous times. Mythology and epic are even more like pearls in history. They are the embodiment of memories from the childhood of human society, full of absurdity, exaggeration, passion, and fantasy. They are the greatest hymns of humanity, hiding many unsolved mysteries. Zhou Yuanjue, dressed in a white shirt and holding a teaching staff in his hand, stood on the podium, speaking the course knowledge in his gentle and calm voice. The course he took is an elective course called Mythical History, and his research direction is related to the development and evolution of ancient mythological epics. From a young age, apart from martial arts, he was most interested in various myths and epic stories that were born at the beginning of human civilization. The rich imagination, strong emotional spirit of the ancients, and numerous mysteries that arose from these stories were the only two things that fascinated him besides martial arts. What fascinates Zhou Yuanjue is martial arts and mythology, and what fascinates most of the other female students present here may not necessarily be these two. In fact, as a rare elective course, there is only one reason why mythological history can make every class fully booked. Ding-ling-ling. The crisp bell for the end of class rang. Yuiji looked at Zhou Yuanjue's back as he left the classroom, somewhat unsatisfied, as if he had not yet been able to savor the ocean of knowledge. Her gaze was a bit dull, she pounded her mouth and it took a while for her to come back to her senses. Turning her head to look at her roommate, she was staring in the direction where Zhou Yuanjue was leaving, looking lost. A disdainful smile curved around Yuiji's lips. Ah, woman, she is truly humble. Pop. Yuiji slapped her roommate on the head and said, "Wake up. Class is over." Ah. Is class over yet? Xuanxin, with an oval face and a slightly chubby figure, trembled with excitement and looked around, as if waking up from a dream. The ocean of history is truly intoxicating. Hey! Wait for me. Xuanxin sighed, and only then did she realize that Yuiji had already carried her bag and left. She quickly packed up her things and chased after her. If only I could attend last week's teacher's history class every day. I knew I should have applied to the history department back then. Xuanxin said to Yuiji with some regret. Upon hearing this, Yuiji couldn't help but roll her eyes. Ah, woman, she is truly humble. Where are you going next? I'm planning to buy a cup of milk tea and go back to brush up on Dior's daily life. I'm going to watch a new movie tonight. Do you want to go together? Xuanxin asked about Yuiji. No, I'll go to the library later. I have another appointment tonight. Yuiji refused. Appointment. Male and female. Xuanxin's eyes lit up instantly, and the fire of gossip burned brightly. Female, an older sister who has already graduated and hasn't been in touch for a long time. She's on a business trip to Wuhai and I'll see her by the way. What do you think? Yuiji pinched the baby fat on Xuanxin's face and glared at her, saying. Oh, okay, then hurry up, I'm leaving. Xuanxin shook her head with some regret, freed herself from Yuiji's clutches, waved her hand, and disappeared into the crowd after class. Yuiji watched as Xuanxin's figure disappeared and went to the library. She found a seat in the ancient history book area and started reading a large volume of books called The Epic Examination of Tikriat. Within 30 minutes, she was already drowsy and yawned incessantly. It's so boring. Why on earth do I have to read this kind of book? Isn't kimchi opera fragrant? Yuiji grabbed her jet black long hair in distress, took out her laptop from her bag, opened her communication software, and clicked into a user's profile picture. How long hasn't there been any new updates? And why is it set to be visible for 3 days? Yuiji muttered as she closed the dynamic page, clicked on the chat window, and input with a snap. Teacher Zhou, I have been reading the Epic Examination of Tikriat recently and I am very fascinated by the knowledge inside. However, there are some parts that I don't understand. Can I talk to you about it? After posting, she bored herself and browsed the knowledge forum Zihu. After about half an hour, she finally received a reply. Yuiji's body shook and she quickly clicked on the chat window. Sure, that book may be too professional for you. If you have any questions, you can summarize them into a document and send it to my email. I will reply to you when I have time. Summarize into a document sent to email. Yuiji pouted and closed the chat window, leaning against the soft chair in the library. It's like this again, who is still asking you a question when sending emails? She grumbled in dissatisfaction and slammed the computer shut down, causing the glasses man who had been watching her to glance sideways. Woo 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 woo. At that moment, her phone vibrated. She picked it up and saw that the name displayed on the caller ID was Wen Kaiwei. She ran all the way into the public area of the library and then quietly answered the phone. Hey, where do we schedule for tonight? Yuiji said to the phone. Binjiang Tianhai, sister will take you to see the world. On the other end of the phone came the cheerful voice of Wen Kaiwei. Binjiang Tianhai, the largest high-end comprehensive leisure city in Wuhai, not only operates glamorous leisure projects on the surface, but also has many more, gold-absorbing, exciting, and crazy projects secretly with the support of the huge power of the behind-the-scenes boss. The boxing competition is one of the most popular events among them. There is an indelible element of violence hidden within human bones. A peaceful life deeply suppresses this desire, but when it finds an outlet to vent, it bursts even crazier. At exactly 8 o'clock in the evening. Red Falcon, why are you here so late? The boxing match is about to start. Somewhere outside the Binjiang Tianhai Ju Quan Arena, with a slightly chubby figure, He Hong, who looked around 30 years old, frowned as he looked at Zhou Yuanjue walking towards him with a stiff leather mask on his face. He is the person in charge of Black-Tailed Yuan's boxing project in Wuhai, and to some extent, his role in Zhou Yuanjue is similar to the agent arranged by Black-Tailed Yuan for him. Help me find a quiet room. Zhou Yuanjue didn't answer and crossed over He Hong to continue walking towards the boxing ring. We've been working together for so long, and I know your habits. The room is ready, but before the competition starts, the chairman of Roche Group wants to meet you. He Hong turned around and chased after Zhou Yuanjue, leading the way and saying. Zhou Yuanjue said, no need, you know my rules. He Hong shrugged helplessly and said, all right, by the way, I heard you're leaving the organization. Don't think about it anymore. If it's a matter of treatment, we can discuss it. We've been working together for so long, what's hard to say? There's no need to mention this matter again. It's not a matter of treatment, but there's nothing I want in the black-tailed kite anymore. Zhou Yuanjue stopped and turned his head calmly to look at He Hong, saying. Since that's the case, according to the previous agreement, as long as you finish the free boxing match arranged by the organization, we will be cleared. Upon hearing Zhou Yuanjue's answer, He Hong sighed and said no more. Under his leadership, the two had already passed through the staff passage and arrived at the door of the boxer's restroom. So, good luck to you. I have prepared a celebration banquet for you in advance. He Hong opened the door for Zhou Yuanjue and said to him with a smile. Thank you. Zhou Yuanjue nodded at him and walked into the restroom alone. After closing the door, He Hong turned around and the smile on his face gradually narrowed. He took out his phone and dialed a phone number. He refused again, with a very firm attitude and no room for negotiation. There was a slight silence on the other end of the phone. A long time later, a calm and heavy male voice came through. Unfortunately. The man only said these two words before hanging up the phone. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Fist Clash. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Fist Clash at 8:50 p.m. Binjiang Tianhai, Underground Boxing Ring. The boxing arena is modeled after a coliseum, with a 20-meter radius boxing area surrounded by a 5-meter-high wall in the middle and stepped audience seats on both sides. At this moment, there were already many people dressed differently in the audience, most of whom wore various masks on their faces. Usually, 3 to 5 people they knew gathered together and whispered to each other. "Is this the world you're taking me to see? I didn't expect there to be such a place in Wuhai." Yu Yiji wore a mask of heavenly Raksha on her face and looked around in surprise, saying, "Uncle Yu just manages you too strictly and doesn't let you know anything." Sitting next to Yiji was Wen Kaiwei, who had short hair and was dressed in casual women's clothing. She wore a night dancer mask on her face. "What? Isn't it just an underground black fist? Why do I have to know? Also, what does this have to do with my dad's side? He's a medicine maker and has something to do with underground black fist." Yuiji said strangely. Underground black fist. Decisive boxing is much more interesting than underground black boxing. Many underground black punches come with protective gear and holsters, and even some so-called unrestricted fighting black boxing arenas have referees and corresponding rules. However, unlike decisive boxing, it truly has no rules, no restrictions, no weight level, and no referees. After the boxer enters the arena, only one side falls or surrenders to end the battle. In this process, whether it is entanglement, strangulation, biting with teeth, or piercing the vagina, it is allowed. When Kaiwei smiled and said, "Isn't that very bloody?" Yuiji frowned and moved her body slightly, feeling slightly uncomfortable. For her, who has always lived under the protection of her parents, this is a world she has never been exposed to. Normally, the mortality rate of a regular boxing match is only about 20%, while the disability rate is over 50%. However, this time the match is relatively high. End. At this level of boxing master, the killing power of each punch and foot is very terrifying, and he knows the weaknesses of the human body like a palm of his hand. The mortality rate of boxing matches will rise to 50%, and the disability rate is also extremely high. When Kaiwei said lightly, "Is that so? Then I'll leave first. I don't really like this kind of scene." Yuiji didn't know why when Kaiwei brought her to such a place, but the discomfort in her heart made her not want to stay too long. She stood up and prepared to leave. "Wait a moment." When Kaiwei grabbed Yuiji, who wanted to leave, and said, "You don't want to know why I brought you here, and why did Uncle Yu not tell you anything?" Upon hearing this, Yuiji paused for a moment and sat down again. This game, besides watching and betting, actually has deeper significance. Roche Group and Hengan Group have had some groundless disputes over the seafood export business of Tianhe country. This boxing match is driven by these two groups behind the scenes, involving physical industries and cross-border trade. Under normal commercial means, there are often more primitive and violent hidden rules. In the history of human development and under the surface of civilization, some core elements have actually remained unchanged. When Kaiwei said indifferently, a boxing match is one form of it. A high-level boxing match is an effective manifestation of the group's network of relationships, level of military force, and influence. In many physical industries and cross-border trade chains, these things are likely to be more effective than simple financial resources. For example, if you only have financial resources to operate enterprises and conduct trade in war-torn areas, you can only be a fat sheep, but with enough relationships, military force, and influence, everything will be different. Yuiji felt a bit like her worldview had been overturned as she listened to Wen Saiwei's words. She had originally thought that with the progress of the times, civilization had become the norm of the world. But the fact is, despite being dressed in the cloak of civilization, certain human traits are still difficult to change in a short period of time, and the law of the jungle is the fundamental law. My dad was also involved in it. Yuiji asked in a low voice. Of course, your company is so big that some things are inevitable. Yuiji, you will also be in your senior year next year and will soon enter society. Although Uncle Yu really wants you to live a happy life like this, he only has one daughter like you. The future shares of the group need to be inherited by you. Since you were born in this environment, there are some things that you must understand. When Kai Wei nodded and then sighed, this is also what Uncle Yu meant. Upon hearing this, Yuiji opened her mouth, her expression somewhat complicated. She was about to say something when the atmosphere in the boxing ring suddenly became lively. Everyone's attention was focused on the boxing ring in the middle, like an ancient arena. The iron gates at the entrance to the left and right ends of the boxing ring slowly rose, revealing two figures in the dim light. The figure on the left is very tall, with terrifying broad shoulder blades and a stiff expression on his face, as if wearing a human skin mask. The person on the right has a slightly short stature, dark skin, and very strong muscles like cast steel. He has a typical South Burmese face, with raised cheekbones, small and slender eyes, raised eyebrows, thick lips, and slightly protruding jawbones. When his eyes scan, it gives a very fierce feeling. The boxing match is about to start, let's talk about other questions later. Seeing the appearance of the boxing master, Wen Caiwei's eyes immediately burst into an excited light, and she whispered to Yiji. The first time you've seen it, I'm probably not quite sure about the market. Let me introduce it to you. The one on the right is Wu Hashan, a boxer from South Burma. According to the information, he studied under the martial arts master Baldan of South Burma, and the martial arts school he practiced is the Steel Claw Fierce Tiger Flow Fist, which evolved from the ancient Fierce Tiger Fist of South Burma. The ancient martial arts of South Burma are known for their ferocity, and Wu Hashan has grasped the essence of it. Judging from this guy's debut record, he has won 28 out of 30 battles and lost 2, with an opponent's disability rate of over 80%. He can already be considered a top-notch fighter in the world of boxing. It is said that this guy's fingers are trained to be like tiger claws, able to easily tear joints and skin. In 30 boxing matches, up to 12 of his opponent's injuries were caused by him tearing off different body parts such as palms, arms, and calves. When Kai Wei took out her phone and found Wu Hashan's information through special channels, saying to Yiji, "So perverted." Upon hearing this, Yuiji couldn't help but swallow her saliva and said, "Tearing the human body with bare hands." This seems to be a plot that can only be seen in some divine dramas that depict the chaos of heaven and earth. She also practices taekwondo to maintain her figure, and can even kick and break 3 wooden boards at once, but she knows that those boards are specially made and very fragile. Her taekwondo coaches are known as black belts and have strong physical strength, but they are still within the range that ordinary people can understand. Tearing the human body with bare hands is beyond the understanding of ordinary people. It is something that only extremely ferocious beasts, such as chimpanzees, can do. How can humans compare to beasts? Well, the skills mastered by these first-class boxers are unimaginable to ordinary people, otherwise those big groups wouldn't dare to put their treasures on them. It can be said that when these first-class boxers launch a fierce attack, killing may be even easier than killing a chicken. Fortunately, now is the era of hot weapons, and their destructive power is limited. However, in modern society, there are not many people who can reach this level of training. Perhaps it can be described as rare and rare. The talent and refinement required are unimaginable. In modern society, the cost-effectiveness is really not high. It must have cost a lot to hire this person from Hengan Group this time. When Kai Wei nodded and said, "What about the other person?" Yuiji asked, and upon hearing what Kai Wei had said, she couldn't help but feel a little curious about the world that those people were in that she had never known before, as if a certain string had been touched in her heart. That is the instinctive worship of pure violence, power, and power deeply imprinted in the subconscious and genes of humanity itself. New books, please collect and recommend more. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Tiger Roar. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 5. Strong and Weak. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Chapter 5 Strong and Weak Tiger Roar, Pounce. Quickly approaching, a roar intimidates the opponent, elevating one's own momentum and strength to the peak. If the opponent is slightly weak and not adequately prepared, this series of attacks is enough to expose the opponent's fatal vulnerability. Even if the opponent is strong, they can still seize the opportunity, and the brave will win when they meet on a narrow path. The characteristic of fierce tiger fist lies in the word ferocity. Located in the south, ancient Myanmar has been plagued by jungle and fierce beasts. Since ancient times, its national strength has been weak and wars have been ongoing. The people of Myanmar often have to face wild beasts and enemies, and it can be said that the whole nation is a soldier. For a long time, male soldiers in Myanmar learned martial arts. In the harsh environment, the entire nation has developed a fierce and violent martial arts, and many moves are even trained in a way that destroys the human body, with great killing power. Tiger Fist is a representative of it. Wu Hashan has fully inherited this ferocity. If he doesn't take action, it will be a brutal move. Hoo. A large amount of air swept through the gaps between Wu Hashan's fingers, creating a clear and audible sound of airflow. He grabbed his 5 fingers 3 inches behind Zhou Yuanjue's neck to prevent him from dodging and to respond promptly. How fierce! Yuiji opened her mouth wide, feeling a slight shock in her heart. Is this the ferocious fist technique that can tear apart the human body? From such a distance, she felt like facing a fierce tiger, with goosebumps all over her body. Compared to the shock of Yiji at this moment, Wu Hashan was somewhat surprised in his heart. He saw that Zhou Yuanjue did not dodge at the moment of his sudden attack, but instead put on a fist fight. Don't hide. Between lightning and flint, he couldn't think carefully in his mind, he just instinctively felt a slight mistake. Unfortunately, the fierce tiger fist is fierce and ruthless. When it strikes, the momentum becomes intense, and there is no reason to turn back. Just as his steel claws cut through the air and fell. Ya. Countless punches, accompanied by a piercing bird-like roar, completely obscured his vision. Brush. Sitting on the side of the audience, the representative of Hengan Group, who was originally calm and composed, suddenly stood up from his seat with a confident expression, his eyes fixed on the boxing ring, and his face became extremely ugly. Roche Group's Luo Hanyo's pupils also suddenly shrank. Accompanied by the sharp chirping of birds, within a second of contact between the two sides, no one knew how many punches Zhou Yuanjue had punched. At the moment of contact, Wu Hashan's defense had already crumbled, and countless fist shadows had intimate contact with his body. He fell out like a torn cloth bag and fell heavily to the ground. His arms showed a strange posture, already broken, with more than a dozen ferocious blood holes appearing on his hardened and strong body. Blood kept flowing, and the corners of his mouth involuntarily spat out blood. He had lost consciousness. The terrifying fist force caused multiple fractures in his body and internal organs to shake. If it weren't for Zhou Yuanjue's lack of killing intent, he would have died at least 9 times. Zhou Yuanjue glanced at Wu Hashan, who was lying on the ground, without making any further stops. He turned around and walked towards the entrance of the martial arts arena, where the iron fence was slowly rising. This is his first full effort in nearly 6 months. 3 years ago, he joined Black-Tailed Kite to improve his martial arts skills, gain experience in life and death combat, and become even stronger. He started as a junior boxing master. At first, in the boxing match, he felt the passion that transcended ordinary life. The pleasure of sweating, punching, and elevating his soul in pain and blood intoxicated him. He could feel that he was getting stronger day by day, and almost all of his failures were left behind at that time. In 2 years, I went from a junior boxer to an intermediate boxer, and then to a senior boxer. However, a year ago, with the improvement of his martial arts skills, his boxing techniques and physical fitness were constantly improving, and that feeling was constantly weakening. It was not until 6 months ago that even when facing opponents at the advanced level of boxing masters, he could hardly feel the intoxicating collision. However, the cultivation of martial arts requires a huge amount of funds, and in order to earn a high income as a fighter, he is still engaged in martial arts. He hides his increasingly terrifying physical abilities and focuses on honing his fighting skills. But not long ago, the 100 Falcon Roar was completed, and the Red Falcon Fist reached its peak. Whether in terms of physical fitness or skill, he had reached a point where he could not advance. Money has lost most of its function for him. Staying with the black-tailed kite in the fist-fighting arena is just wasting precious life and time. Here, there is no longer what he wants, so there is nothing worth remembering. A full effort, even a farewell to the past, seems to indicate that he will embark on a new journey. His figure gradually disappeared into the darkness of the entrance, but there was still silence in the boxing ring, and only the sound of the prepared medical team rushing into the boxing ring could be heard. At this moment, the audience had not yet savored it, and no one expected that what was supposed to be a evenly matched and exciting competition would end in this way. Yuji stared blankly at the figure disappearing into the passage, and then looked at Wu Hashan, who was lying on the ground bleeding incessantly. Just half a minute ago, she felt that this man, who seemed even more ferocious than a tiger, had already represented the peak of human physique. However, now this peak has been completely shattered in such a simple way, replaced not by mountains, but more like an endless, bottomless sea. She couldn't help but fall into a contemplation where her worldview had been shattered. How strong can humans be? How strong can humans be? Zhou Yuanjue is also pondering this question, but unfortunately he doesn't have an answer either. Are humans very strong? Human beings are very strong. Powerful martial artists can subdue tigers, fight brown bears, carve stone tablets, and kill like chickens. In ancient times, fierce generals were dressed in battle armor, with their feet crossed by horses, and could even fight 1 to 100. Are humans very weak? Human beings are very weak. Swords can stab people to death, bullets can shoot them to death, grenades can blow them up, missiles can even vaporize people into gas. The development of technology and the emergence of thermal weapons have made human power seem like a joke. But is this the limit of humanity? Is this the limit of biology? Some people say that times have changed. But Zhou Yuanjue did not believe that he was willing to pursue a miracle that may not exist in this ordinary world, without regret until death. I didn't expect your strength to be so strong. He Hong entered the boxer's rest area and gave Zhou Yuanjue a deep glance, saying, "It's just a stroke of luck." Zhou Yuanjue said calmly. "This is not a stroke of luck, the opponent is Wu Hashan." He Hong took a deep breath and saw that Zhou Yuanjue didn't seem to have much conversation, so he stopped talking in time. "Are you coming to tonight's celebration banquet?" After a moment of silence, He Hong suddenly asked Zhou Yuanjue. "Forget it, you know I'm not interested in that kind of occasion." Zhou Yuanjue shook his head. "We have been working together for quite some time now. This meal is considered a farewell banquet, shouldn't we have this kind of emotional connection?" He Hong frowned and said. Upon hearing these words, Zhou Yuanjue turned his head to look at He Hong and remained silent for a while before saying, "Okay. Seeking collection. Recommended." End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Times have changed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Times have changed. Zhou Yuanjue sat in He Hong's small car and quickly arrived at his destination. As the largest comprehensive entertainment area in the entire city of Wuhai, finding a place to eat is still very simple. In the southern coastal area, an attic stands on the sea surface, connected by a 9-curved corridor. The attic has a white background with cloud patterns, which is quite reminiscent of the ancient Chinese style. This is a well-known private kitchen in Wuhai called Haiyun Kei, which only accepts special banquets and allows in and out dignitaries. Even if the average person has money, they may not be able to make reservations. The car stopped at the entrance of the Cloud Palace on the sea, and immediately two female guests dressed in kipeos with graceful and charming faces walked up with smiles to pick up the car. He Hong and Zhou Yuanjue got off the car. "Hello everyone, I'm Mengxi and her name is Yang. It's an honor to have the opportunity to receive you both. Please come inside." The voice of the female welcoming guests is soft and continuous, giving people a natural sense of familiarity upon hearing it. It's not easy to make an appointment here. Their dishes are a masterpiece in Wuhai, and I put in a lot of effort to get it done. I hope you're satisfied. He Hong smiled and said to Zhou Yuanjue. "Thank you." Zhou Yuanjue nodded and, guided by two female guests, Dream Creek and Yunk, walked through the 9-curved corridor to reach the entrance of the Cloud Palace on the sea. The ancient-style attic door opened, with bright lights, revealing the hall decorated with classical luxury. "Welcome." Before entering the door, I saw the waiter inside bowing to them from afar. "Please." He Hong's chubby face had a slight smile on it and made a gesture of invitation to Zhou Yuanjue. However, Zhou Yuanjue stopped and stood in front of the brightly lit attic gate. He turned around and looked at He Hong, saying, "Since the previous person in charge died, we have been working together for a year and a half, haven't we? To be precise, it has been 1 year and 9 months. The smile on He Hong's face became even stronger. "Has it been so long? That's really a pity." Zhou Yuanjue let out a slight sigh. "It's a pity." He Hong also exclaimed somewhat. "Yeah." Before he could finish speaking, a bird-like burst of air burst out, and a sharp chill appeared on his neck. He Hong's pupils shrank suddenly, and his reaction speed was also extremely fast. He shrank back suddenly. Uldager, glutinous rice rolls with sweet bean flour, rolled away from Zhou Yuanjue's attack range. His suit was messy, and his throat knot was slightly painful. His skin was already broken and blood was flowing out. Half a minute later, the whole throat knot would be smashed. At this moment, He Hong was also sweating profusely. As the head of the martial arts project in Wuhai, he himself came from a martial arts master background and was also a top-notch fighter. Although he had not taken the stage for many years, his training never fell behind. Unexpectedly, he almost fell under Zhou Yuanjue's command with just one face. After watching the match between Wu Heshan and Zhou Yuanjue, he knew that this guy's boxing and physical fitness had reached an extremely terrifying level, which could be described as inhumane. Unfortunately, this is no longer the era of martial arts. Click. Following Zhou Yuanjue's side, Mengxi and Yunk, who had a graceful figure and a dignified appearance, extended their hands to their back and waist at the moment of his gesture. During the process of accompanying them, they never showed their backs in front of Zhou Yuanjue, which seemed to be the etiquette of the receptionist, but in reality, there was a hidden motive. 2 black pistols instantly appeared in Zhou Yuanjue's sight. However, he did not dodge, instead he suddenly collided with the dream stream closest to him. Seeing Zhou Yuanjue pounce, Mengxi's beautiful face showed no signs of panic. They are all professionals who know the killing power of these boxers in close combat, the terrifying speed and explosive force that they absolutely cannot match. At this time, avoiding is the stupidest choice. She bent down and shrunk her back, her left hand immediately protecting her chest, and her right hand drawing the gun without slowing down, even faster. She is preparing to forcefully collide with the other person to buy time and delay their actions. Even if she is seriously injured, her gun can still take the other person's life. Even if she cannot, her companions behind her can take action and kill the other person at the moment she blocks them. Exchange injuries for injuries, not even caring about the risk of serious injury or even death in order to complete tasks. In this rapid battle, one can overcome the fear instinct of the human body and instantly find the cleanest and fastest solution. These people are undoubtedly true professionals trained by the black-tailed kite. Seeing Mengxi's instinctive reaction in an instant, Zhou Yuanjue immediately understood. Two professional death gunners, sandwiched in front and back, are willing to fight their lives. This is a life and death crisis. Even with the success of the Red Falcon Fist, as strong as Zhou Yuanjue, in the face of modern firearms, one can only tremble and walk on thin ice. Times have changed. Practicing martial arts for 10 years cannot withstand the sound of gunfire. Zhou Yuanjue seemed to feel the mockery from the times. Electric light and flint, a moment of life and death. Mengxi smiled. After all, she was one step faster. At the moment when Zhou Yuanjue collided, her gun had already been aimed at his body. If she resists a collision, she may be seriously injured, but if she takes a shot, the other party will definitely die. Times have changed. Bang! The sound of gunshots rang out, but Mengxi only heard a series of bone bursts, and a strong wind blew through her legs. The figure that was about to crash into her arms disappeared from her eyes in the instant of the gunshot, without a trace. Magic. Taoism. In an instant, Mengxi almost thought he was in a fantasy world. The next moment, an extremely sharp chill came from behind her, and Zhou Yuanjue unknowingly arrived behind her. How on earth did it happen? She couldn't understand what was happening to her, but the skylark on the other side could see it clearly. The tall man, in the moment he collided with Mengxi, suddenly became shorter. His massive body quickly shrank in a bone roar, like a sensitive and cunning civet cat, slipping through Mengxi's crotch. Due to its fast speed and precise movements, which exceed the capture range of the retina, it creates an illusion of wall-piercing and teleportation for the person involved. The art of shrinking bones. In order to increase their stealth and stealth abilities, ancient assassins created this skill, which can contract bones or temporarily dismantle joints, making them perform actions that go against common sense, hiding in positions that the enemy cannot imagine, and giving them a fatal blow. The next moment, she saw a big hand gripping Mengxi's neck, pushing him towards her like carrying a cloth bag, and the speed was actually not slower than before. Bang bang. The skylark had no hesitation at all. The black muzzle of the gun spewed with flames, shooting continuously at Mengxi, which was being held up by Zhou Yuanjue as a human shield. She was well aware that there was no need to save a boxer at this level, and she was almost certain to die, so she had no psychological burden. The massive driving force of the large-caliber pistol's close-range shooting exploded into terrifying blood holes on Mengxi's body, with bullets piercing through his body and hitting Zhou Yuanjue's body. However, with the buffering of Dream Creek's body, the bullet's kinetic energy was reduced to less than 1/3. This power may still be able to cause fatal damage to ordinary people, but not to him. The bullet shattered his skin and surface muscles, splattering blood, but was firmly held by his strong muscles, unable to harm his internal organs. In the blink of an eye, he had already arrived in front of the skylark, carrying the blood flowing across the dilapidated Dream Creek. Puzzy. A palm suddenly pierced through a hole in Mengxi's chest that had been blasted by a bullet, accurately gripping the skylark's throat. Cleverly bypassing the human skeleton, it's like cooking a cow. Click. The skylark's throat made a bone-cracking sound that made her scalp tingle. There was still a hint of disbelief in her charming eyes, as if she had never expected the other party to kill her in such an incredible way. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Solution. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Solution. Bang bang bang. The collision between the two sides may seem complicated, but the actual time passed was definitely no more than 3 seconds. Just as Zhou Yuanjue was like pinching a chicken to solve the skylark, 6 black-tailed kite assassins disguised as waiters in the hall had already pulled out their weapons, and countless bullets poured towards Zhou Yuanjue. With a flick of his arm, Zhou Yuanjue threw the bodies of Dream Creek, which had been pierced through his chest, and the skylark, whose throat had been pinched, towards the door, blocking some of the incoming bullets. Meanwhile, he himself, a civet cat, rolled over to the wall, then dodged, grabbed the ancient-style eaves of the attic and climbed up to the second floor of the attic. Kill him. We absolutely can't let him run away. He roared at the black-tailed kite killers in the attic, looking at the tattered Dream Creek lying on the ground and the twisted Skylark with a twisted neck, and couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Dream Creek and Skylark are both elite assassins of the black-tailed kite. Although they cannot compete with top martial artists in terms of destructive power with bare hands, they still have no problem facing 5 or 6 adult males with bare hands. They have a firm will, precise marksmanship, rich experience, and are indifferent to life and death. They will do anything to achieve their goals, even if they sacrifice themselves. It's like this: 2 people holding firearms in an open area were easily killed by the other party without even holding on for 3 seconds. The methods used by the other party are simply unbelievable. Be decisive, calm, extremely ruthless, and bold. He suddenly had a feeling that the men holding firearms were not hunters, but rather prey to the unarmed man. This sense of oppression, his breathing suddenly became heavy, and an indescribable fear rose in his heart, as he believed he had seen many things in the world. He climbed up from the ground, regardless of the situation on the battlefield behind him, and quickly ran along the 9-curved corridor towards the shore. Vaguely, he seemed to hear a series of dull gunshots and intermittent screams echoing from the attic behind him. Damn it! This monster! The chill in Hong's heart grew even stronger, and his footsteps unconsciously quickened a bit. However, to his relief, his small car was right in front of him. He immediately reached into his pocket to search for his car key, and dug out all the pockets on his body. His breathing became increasingly intense, and cold sweat slid down his forehead. He couldn't find any trace of the car key. It must have fallen while evading Zhou Yuanjue's attack just now, and he didn't notice it, damn it. Hong angrily kicked the car door and immediately gave up driving, preparing to run as fast as possible to the crowded area. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have asked someone to temporarily block the surrounding area. However, before he could start taking action, a deep sound of footsteps echoed behind him, causing his body to stiffen in place. Turning his head, he saw Zhou Yuanjue standing under the street lamp, his slender shadow pulled by the light yellow light, slowly walking towards him. Dida. At this moment, Zhou Yuanjue's clothes appeared somewhat tattered, constantly dripping blood. It was unclear whether the large amount of blood belonged to him or someone else. For some reason, Hong, who had previously harbored fear, calmed down when he finally faced Zhou Yuanjue. You already knew there would be an ambush, right? Why are you still coming? Hong looked at Zhou Yuanjue walking towards him and said. Ding ding ding. At this moment, bullet heads soaked in blood were cleverly controlled by Zhou Yuanjue to squeeze out from the wound and make a crisp sound as they fell to the ground. Am I special? Hong couldn't help but frown when he saw this terrifying power technique. This is just an attempt. So far, the situation is pretty good. Zhou Yuanjue said calmly to Hong. You crazy person. Hong took a deep breath and said that he understood the meaning behind Zhou Yuanjue's words. Unexpectedly deliberately stepping into an ambush to test what step one can take when facing a hot weapon. Does this guy really want his life? Since I have reached this point, I will not beat around the bush. I am ordered to act and beg for food. You can let me go, as long as I can do it. The conditions are up to you. Hong said in a deep voice. No need. However, before he could finish speaking, countless punches covered him. Bang bang. Daidu. After a muffled sound, the empty street echoed with the sound of the car's automatic alarm. The entire side shell of the vehicle was deeply sunken under Zhou Yuanjue's fist force, and Hong's severely deformed upper body was deeply embedded in the sunken area of the vehicle shell, with blood flowing profusely. Zhou Yuanjue shook the blood on his hand, looked at his tattered clothes stained red with blood, and then at the same tattered clothes on Hong's body, unable to help but fall into a brief moment of contemplation. It seems like we shouldn't have hit so hard. We don't have clothes to change. Wearing this outfit on the street, you are likely to be caught by the police on the street. He turned around and was ready to go back to the attic to find a better and cleaner piece of clothing to change into. Dingling, dingling. At this moment, a mobile phone ringtone rang from He Hong's car, perhaps feeling that the matter could be resolved quickly. This guy had never carried his phone with him before. Bang! Zhou Yuanjue suddenly punched the car window and reached out to take out the ringing phone from the car. The screen displays the phone number of an unknown call source. Zhou Yuanjue picked up his phone and pressed the connect button. How's the situation going? A calm and deep voice of a man came from the other end of the phone. Someone has come to collect the corpse. Zhou Yuanjue casually said something and then hung up his phone. Do. In a richly decorated office, a tall middle-aged man with sword eyebrows and stars listened to the blind sound coming from his phone and calmly muttered to himself, "It's a bit interesting." Later, he picked up his phone and dialed another number. Go and see the scene. Not long after, his phone rang again. Listening to the report from his subordinates, the middle-aged man's eyes gradually narrowed. 6 ordinary assassins and 2 elite assassins, all carrying firearms, were unexpectedly solved by a bare-handed person. This is beyond the scope of a boxing master. This couldn't help but remind him of some terrifying beings like non-human monsters that he had seen at the organizational headquarters before. Those terrifying entities represent the strongest combat power of the organization, with huge secrets hidden within them, and are the true high-level and pillar of the organization. Ding! He pressed a button in the corner of his desk, and a crisp bell rang in the room. Click! The office door was opened, and a young woman with a graceful figure, beautiful appearance, and dressed in professional attire walked into the office. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Stronger Path. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Stronger Path. Mr. Hong, what instructions do you have? Chen Junue pushed his black-framed glasses and asked. Prepare a check of 20 million yuan and a gift. Well, I will choose the gift myself later. Tomorrow, you will personally send it to the Red Falcon. Just say that what happened before was He Hong's unauthorized action. These things are the compensation for the boxing match and our apologies. From then on, our boxing membership relationship will be peacefully terminated. However, if there is an opportunity, I hope there will be other opportunities for cooperation. Hong Rentao said slowly. After listening to Hong Rentao's words, a hint of surprise flashed on Chen Juanyue's face. Red Falcon. Isn't that the target that Hong wants to eliminate tonight? However, working in the organization and in this position, she deeply knew that she shouldn't ask this question. She bowed slightly to the middle-aged man and said, I understand, before leaving the office. In the office, Hong Rentao took out a file bag from a drawer, a stack of lists, and the page that recorded Zhou Yuanjue's information. Tear it off. He tore this page of information into pieces and threw it into a nearby paper basket. If it is an ordinary boxer, even a senior boxer, wanting to leave the organization is a near death, which is related to the prestige of the black-tailed kite boxing project. Come if you want, go if you want, where is being a black-tailed kite? But this week, Zhou Yuanjue has already left the category of advanced boxers and reached another level. 2 elite assassins, 6 ordinary assassins, and 1 boxing project manager in the Wuhai area were all killed by the opponent with bare hands. Continuing to entangle in this matter, perhaps black-tailed kite can exert enough power to clear the opponent, but the cost has far exceeded the value of leeway itself. From the perspective of organizations like the black-tailed kite, there is no grudges, no hatred, only benefits. In this incident, Zhou Yuanjue has proven his value. Repairing relationships is more in line with the interests of the organization than killing the other party or establishing enemies. As for the dead, the black-tailed kite is not lacking in people, nor in talent, but in the elite who truly stand at the top of human society. The next morning at 9 o'clock, when Chen Junue visited and handed the gift to Zhou Yuanjue, he was truly surprised. That's the situation. We deeply apologize for this misunderstanding and hope to have more opportunities for cooperation in the future. The young female secretary said to Zhou Yuanjue with a sweet professional smile on her face. If you have any projects that interest me, I will consider them. Zhou Yuanjue did not refuse Hong Rentao's gift, and it was not in his interest to entangle with organizations like Black-Tailed Kite. Yes, then I won't disturb you. Goodbye. The female secretary smiled slightly and turned around to leave Zhou Yuanjue's residence. Watching the female secretary leave, Zhou Yuanjue looked at the huge check in his hand with a somewhat playful expression. Black-Tailed Kite, this organization seems to be more interesting than he imagined. At first, he thought that his relationship with the other party would be entangled for a while, but he didn't expect it to be resolved so quickly. The other party's handling of this matter is beyond imagination. Chen Junue left, and the room regained peace. Zhou Yuanjue returned to his room with the huge check and opened the hanging painting on the bedroom wall, revealing the safe hidden behind the painting. Opening the safe, he casually placed the check in a corner and then shifted his gaze to a paper document bag. From the paper file bag, he took out a thread-bound blue book that looked quite old. This is the Red Falcon Fist manual that was handed to him by his master Fan Xinghai back then. Of course, this is no longer the original ancient book, it has been refurbished and remade several times, and he only has this book for about 20 years. Opening the martial arts manual, one can see on the slightly yellowed pages, delicately depicting the boxing frames of the Red Falcon Fist, including various free throws and postures of the Red Falcon Fist. Of course, these pictures are not the most valuable part of this martial arts manual. In fact, even if these fists are shown to outsiders, they cannot be practiced by outsiders. At most, they can be considered as gymnastics for strengthening the body, and some of their postures may even damage the body if not properly handled. The most valuable aspect of this martial arts manual lies in the secret annotations and insights behind these martial arts diagrams. These texts gather the understanding and development of martial arts by the descendants of the Red Falcon Fist throughout history. Although the manual has been lost several times due to natural disasters and man-made disasters, the remaining annotations are still crucial. After the death of Fan Xinghai, Zhou Yuanjue gradually mastered the Red Falcon Fist to its peak through these insights. However, this book is gradually losing its usefulness because it has already completed the path that its predecessors have walked. Even if the strongest person in the history of the Red Falcon Fist is revived, he is only between Buizhong and the current one. The Red Falcon Fist has been passed down for hundreds of years, and due to the limitations of the times, there are only 3 such people, with an average of 200 years before one person can emerge. It is undeniable that the current era is indeed an unimaginable one. However, although our ancestors did not reach a stronger level, they left clues for future generations in the annotations of the martial arts manual. Zhou Yuanjue flipped the martial arts manual to the last page, where there was only one sentence. The mirror of the heart, which is holy and clear, is as pure as the bright light shining on it and moving forward without progress. It can overturn yin and yang and break through the shackles. This is called holy consciousness. I cannot do it. This is the words left by a genius 300 years ago, the strongest of the original Red Falcon Fist. It is said that this person surpassed all ancestors and vaguely touched the realm above the Red Falcon Fist. Holy and clear, conscious and guarded, the heart mirror is dust-free, shining like bright light, and moving forward without progress. Holy awakening. Zhou Yuanjue closed his eyes and sat cross-legged, his thoughts drifting. Scenes of his martial arts practice flashed before his eyes, and about half an hour later, he reopened his eyes. At his level of martial arts and physical fitness, coupled with being in an era of material abundance and information explosion, his understanding of martial arts has actually surpassed that of his predecessors. In fact, in his heart, there is a vague direction and answer to what holy consciousness is. The trouble on the side of the black-tailed kite was unexpectedly resolved in a short period of time. Now, it is time for him to embark on a new journey. Ding ding ding. At this moment, the phone he had placed aside rang again. He picked it up and saw that it was a notification message sent by the chat software. This message comes from Yiji. For this student, he has many impressions, and among the students he teaches, he is considered quite active. Of course, there are many students he teaches who are active, but those guys obviously use active in the wrong place. After blacklisting countless male and female students who wanted to invite him to eat, watch movies, and soak in hot springs, there were not many students who could survive on his friend list. Although he could also roughly see what the student named Yiji was thinking, each time the other person asked serious academic questions, some of which were quite profound. Obviously, he had worked hard, so he didn't pay much attention to others. He is a glorious teacher of the people, always knowing everything about studious students and teaching them wholeheartedly. Opening the chat window, he was surprised to find that this time the other person was not asking an academic question. Teacher Zhou, do you really think there are humans in this world who can fight monsters and resist gods like those heroes in mythological epics? Seeing this question, Zhou Yuanjue was slightly surprised. It seemed that his student had encountered some confusing things. Quickly, he typed the keyboard on his phone and edited a reply to the other person, answering questions and providing clarification. Believe in science. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Nanjiang Zhou Family. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Nanjiang Zhou Family. Woo 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 woo. A luxury car is running at an extremely fast speed on the highway. Sitting in the driver's seat of a luxury car is a beautiful woman wearing sunglasses, with long hair curled up high, revealing a delicate and fair face. On the other side, there is a man wearing a black casual T-shirt, with a well-proportioned figure and a straight face. I didn't expect that there are still members of the Zhou family in Nanjiang outside of Nanjiang. Lin Heng, sitting in the passenger seat, asked Zhou Xiao, a woman with sunglasses. Well, his situation is a bit special. In fact, he is not one of us, but the grandson of my second grandfather. My grandfather was poor in his early years, and his three brothers made a living by going to the sea. They got into trouble with their enemies and were attacked during a sea voyage. The three brothers jumped into the sea and fled, encountering a current. Unfortunately, the third grandfather drowned and died. The second grandfather and grandfather were separated. Later, in order to avoid their enemies, the grandfather hid his name and fled to Nanjiang. The two of them lost contact. At that time, there were years of turmoil and no way to search. It was not until recent years when our Zhou family's shipping industry grew and we used various relationships to find our old friends. Unfortunately, my cousin is the only one left in the lineage of my second grandfather. Zhou Xiao sighed and said. So it's like this. Lin Heng sighed and nodded, his thoughts seemingly following Zhou Xiao's narration back to the chaotic era of the past. My cousin is somewhat special, perhaps due to the death of his parents in his early years. He has a somewhat stubborn and eccentric personality. Although the two families recognize each other, he seems unwilling to have too much contact with our branch, nor do he want us to care for and help him too much. He only goes to Nanjiang every year during his grandfather's birthday. However, although his personality may be a bit peculiar, his abilities are quite good. In his early years, he became a lecturer at Wuhai University through his own efforts. Although he is not wealthy or ordinary, he can still be considered successful in his career. Zhou Xiao smiled and said. Based on what you said, it's true that I lost my family at a young age without anyone to help and support me. I worked hard on my own, and at a young age, I can still be considered a social elite. I would like to get to know each other. Lin Heng's face showed a hint of interest. Then you might be disappointed. My cousin has a cold personality and a reserved demeanor, making it difficult for me to even talk to him. He has his own business and lives well. In fact, we don't want to disturb his life. However, this time the situation is special, and you know the methods of Jingchen Group. This is the first time our Zhou shipyard has gone abroad, and no one knows that they will have such a big business. What means should we use? So, just in case, this time when I come over, I must invite my cousin to stay in Nanjiang for a few days until your master's decision is made. However, I estimate that with my cousin's personality, he may not easily agree, so I may trouble you to take action later. Zhou Xiao looked at Lin Heng and said. You made me do this. It really offends people. I thought I could make friends by coming over. Lin Heng said somewhat helplessly. There's nothing we can do. If things get urgent, I'll take control. Afterwards, I'll explain and apologize to him. After this incident is over, I'll treat you to a good meal. Zhou Xiao chuckled lightly and said. Okay, Miss Zhou, can I refuse? By the way, what's your cousin's name? Lin Heng shrugged and asked. Zhou Yuanjue. Ding ding ding. After completing a simple meditation in the bedroom, Zhou Yuanjue heard his phone ring again. Why are there so many things today? Seeing the name, Zhou Xiao, displayed on the screen, Zhou Yuanjue frowned. Hey, what's up? Zhou Yuanjue answered the phone and said straightforwardly. Cousin, sister doesn't like to hear your words anymore. She can't care about you when she's free. Zhou Xiao's voice came from the phone, and before she could finish speaking, Zhou Yuanjue hung up the phone. Damn it, you hung up on me again. This guy. You saw him too, didn't you? He's really making me angry. Outside Zhou Yuanjue's small villa, halfway through the conversation in the luxury car, Zhou Xiao's face twitched violently as she listened to the blind voice on the phone, looking a bit crazy. Really has a personality. Lin Heng coughed and said, with an awkward yet polite smile on his face. This guy. Please help me clean him up later. Zhou Xiao Tiger said with a pretty face, but she still operated her phone and dialed Zhou Yuanjue's phone again. After a few waiting sounds, the phone was reconnected. Something's up. It's at your doorstep. Come out and meet me. After saying these few words, regardless of the response from the other party, Zhou Xiao hung up the phone directly. On the other hand, listening to the blind tone on the phone, Zhou Yuanjue nodded. That's right, just say no to anything directly. Beating around the bush is simply a waste of time. He changed into a half-length sleeve, covering the bullet hole on his body that had already scabbed and was about to heal, and walked out of the villa. Opening the door, he saw Zhou Xiao and Lin Heng standing in front of a car waiting for him. Why, come straight to my house. What's up? Zhou Yuanjue glanced at Lin Heng leaning against the car body and then said to Zhou Xiao. I know your personality, so I won't beat around the bush. I came this time because of my grandfather's intention. Recently, our group is competing with another large group for an overseas cooperation project, and their methods are relatively despicable. Grandpa is worried that they will start from you, so I hope you can stay in Nanjiang for a few days until the matter is over. Zhou Xiao said solemnly to Zhou Yuanjue. If it's this matter, you don't have to worry, just ensure your own safety. Zhou Yuanjue shook his head and said. Yuanjue, this incident is different from before, and there is really a great danger. You usually teach and educate people, and interact with mainstream society. Hello everyone, hello everyone. Even if there is hatred, it is resolved within the system and framework. Perhaps I am not very clear about the dark nature of some society. Driven by profit, there are often no rules, and those people can do anything. Zhou Xiao frowned and said. I know you mean well, but there really isn't a need for such trouble. I have my plans for this period of time, that's all for this matter. Thank you for coming. Zhou Yuanjue shook his head and turned towards the villa. If even he would be in danger, I'm afraid the entire Zhou family would really be ruined. At that time, staying anywhere would be the same. Zhou Xiao looked at Lin Heng helplessly. Lin Heng shrugged, straightened up, took 2 steps forward, and reached out to grab Zhou Yuanjue's shoulder. Friend, your sister is also doing it for your own good. After being advised to have a full meal, why don't you come with us? End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Xuanxin Fist. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Xuanxin Fist. Friend, your sister is also for your own good. After being advised to have a full meal, why don't you come with us? Lin Heng was extremely fast, with a body as light as a crane. He had already reached behind Zhou Yuanjue and grabbed him by the shoulder. At the moment he reached out, Zhou Yuanjue seemed to feel something and turned around to take a look at Lin Heng. Lin Heng's pupils suddenly shrank, as if sensing an extremely terrifying malice. At this moment, his entire body's sweat and hair stood up, and his muscles involuntarily contracted as if electrocuted. With a slight step, he instantly distanced himself from Zhou Yuanjue by nearly 10 steps. Pifu was furious and his blood splattered for 5 steps. However, as a master of martial arts, his attack range can be extended to 10 steps. As the saying goes, within 10 steps, a person can conquer the enemy's country, and 10 steps is a safe distance for a master to take a move. After retreating, Lin Heng stared at Zhou Yuanjue with fiery eyes. He bent down and shrunk his back, his sweat and hair all over his body erect, and even his hair felt like it was upside down, like a cat that had exploded in danger. Your mind is agile, moving like a rabbit, with a movement of qi and blood. You have 4 limbs and 100 bones, and your anger is full of energy. This is a symbol of your boxing technique from the outside to the inside. You have practiced your boxing well. Zhou Yuanjue turned around and praised Lin Heng. My gaze was like lightning, piercing my heart and mind. It was me who caught my eye, but I didn't expect you to be a skilled Taoist. Since I met you, I want to learn from you. Lin Heng took a deep breath, then felt that he was losing out in front of someone else's gaze. With just 1 step, he looked like a flying immortal, floating like a flying horse in the sky. The antelope hung its horns, making it difficult to find its trajectory, yet it also hinted at the number of the 9 palaces and 8 trigrams. In the blink of an eye, the person was in front of him. He punched out with a muffled sound, like a venomous snake spitting out a message, attacking from an extremely cunning angle and stabbing Zhou Yuanjue's ribs with extremely ruthless methods. This is not like martial arts, but more like sword techniques. It is ethereal and elusive, and the attack must be at a tricky angle. It takes a person's life and leaves no room for maneuver for thousands of miles. This is the true method of killing. The next moment. Ouch! Lin Heng knelt down on the ground, his face flushed, and he gasped and retched violently. Just now, he couldn't even figure out what had happened. He only felt a pain in his chest, which made him feel weak all over, with a surge of qi and blood, difficulty breathing, and nausea and vomiting. Very handsome kung fu, stepping on the 9 palaces and 8 trigrams, the fist technique is boundless, the antelope hanging its horns, like flying immortals from outside the sky, a divine stroke. If I'm not mistaken, this should be a fist technique evolved from the Xuanxin sword technique of the ancient Taoist school Xuanzong, Xuanxin Fist. Zhou Yuanjue pulled Lin Heng up and slapped him on the back with a fierce palm. Cough. Lin Heng coughed violently, spat out a mouthful of white phlegm, and suddenly felt smooth breathing and blood flow. At this moment, he felt some pain in his Tanzhong acupoint. It turned out that at some point, he had been hit by someone in the chest. He felt a sudden fear in his heart, as his chest was a vital part of the human body. The other person could stab his groin in an instant, or stop his heart in an instant, taking his life. If it were a life and death battle, he would now be a corpse. How did you do it? Lin Heng asked in disbelief, as he had obtained a secret recipe for his martial arts. His physical strength was as strong as that of a fierce beast, and his martial arts were exquisite and intricately combined with heavenly secrets. 10 adults couldn't get close, so they couldn't even hold out a single move in front of this person, and didn't even see how the other person punched. The reason is actually very simple. 1 is physical fitness. My physical fitness is stronger than yours, and my speed and strength are stronger than yours. This is the foundation of all combat. Any 4 or 2 movements of 1,000 pounds are nonsense, so when I hit you, you can't react. Another aspect is the intention, or experience. Your martial arts are too immature, and the Xuanxin sword emphasizes the ethereal and elusive nature, making it difficult to trace your movements. However, when you make a move, your gaze, killing energy, and body posture all reveal your attack purpose, which is full of flaws in my eyes. Regarding boxing techniques, Zhou Yuanjue was generous in teaching them. I've been taught, but I didn't expect your martial arts to have reached such a high level. It's true that there are people outside of us, and there are heavens outside of us. It's my fault for overestimating myself. It's been a lot of offense, and I hope you can forgive me. Lin Heng bowed solemnly to Zhou Yuanjue. Zhou Zhiyao beside her was surprised to see this scene and couldn't close her mouth. She knew Lin Heng's skills, and learned from the master of Nanjiang boxing, Gong Shouzhua. She once went to Gong Shouzhua's gym to watch Lin Heng's practice, but was surrounded by 10 people. She knocked down all the opponents in 3 strikes, 5 strikes, and 2 strikes, leaving her with more than a blade. This person may appear sunny and talkative on the surface, but in reality, he is very proud in his heart. There are few people or things that can convince him. Today, he even bowed to someone 1 or 2 years younger than himself, which is like performing disciple rituals. When did this cousin of his own have such skills? Zhou Zhiyao looked at Zhou Yuanjue and suddenly felt that this familiar cousin was so unfamiliar. You come from Nanjiang and practice Xuanxin fist. Your master is Nanjiang Gong Shouzhua. Zhou Yuanjue's expression moved and he asked Lin Heng. Do you also know Jusher? Jusher is currently a guest at the Zhou family. If you are interested, you can go for a chat. I'm sure Jusher is also very interested in you. Lin Heng nodded and said to Zhou Yuanjue. I don't know him, it's just that I've heard a lot about him. Zhou Yuanjue pondered for a moment. Gong Shouzhua, one of the descendants of Xuanxin Fist and a famous martial arts master in Nanjiang, is also one of his future goals. Since he has such fate, he can meet in advance. Moreover, since the Zhou family in Nanjiang can meet people like Gong Shouzhua and have their disciples do things for them, it can be considered as half stepping into the circle. There are some things that should be known to them. Upon realizing this, Zhou Yuanjue nodded and said, then I'll come with you. Zhou's mansion in Nanjiang, within the courtyard. A spirited elderly man dressed in loose casual clothes and a middle-aged man dressed in modern Tang attire with fair and tender skin and lively eyes sat opposite each other at a stone table, playing games. Behind the two of them stood many people watching, all close associates of the Zhou family in Gong Shouzhua boxing school, looking happy and harmonious. General. Brother Gong, it seems that I won again this time. Zhou Shiyu, known as the king of Nanjiang shipbuilding, laughed heartily. Mr. Zhou is skilled in layout and moves step by step, truly a hero who started from scratch. I am not as good as a reckless man. Gong Shouzhua also laughed along. Brother Gong is too humble. We each have our own strengths, and we still rely on your help in this matter. Zhou Shiyu smiled and said. That's also my brother's skill. After negotiating this business, we're just doing some auxiliary work. By the way, have all the members of my brother's family been recalled to Nanjiang? Gong Shouzhua asked. There's one more person left. I've already sent someone to pick them up, and they should be back soon. Is this really so serious? Zhou Shiyu frowned and asked. Of course, I have already investigated and found that the force hired by Jingchen Group this time is Harley Security. The members of this force are diverse and active in the East Rani area, mostly composed of mercenaries, veterans, and black boxers. Their methods are very dirty, and they do everything possible to achieve their mission goals. Kidnapping and extortion are a common occurrence. We are not afraid of a frontal collision on our end, but we are afraid that the other party will use some small tricks. Therefore, before the contract is officially signed, we must all feel aggrieved and stay at home, not go anywhere. With me and my apprentice present, there is no risk here, Gong Shouzhua said with a serious expression. I didn't expect it to be so chaotic abroad. A middle-aged woman standing behind Zhou Shiyu said with some emotion. This is pretty good. The country where Zhou Group's business is located this time is also considered a major country in East Rani, with good security management and strong maritime route monitoring. The range is relatively short, and even if conflicts arise, most of them are cold weapons like knives, guns, and sticks. At best, they are small-caliber pistols. If we switch to Heizhou and other chaotic areas, it is common to face heavy firearms. We dare not, nor can we take on business there. That is the real chaos, where every business and wealth are forged with blood. A tall and robust young man standing behind Gong Shouzhua had a cold and stern gaze, and spoke in a rock-solid, resounding voice. Anan is right. It's another world, but it's far away from us. In fact, we should be grateful that we have a strong motherland and a stable environment. Gong Shouzhua nodded. Duh. At this moment, the gate of the courtyard was opened, and Zhou Zhiyao and Lin Heng followed Zhou Yuanjue into the courtyard. Yuanjue, here you are. Come over quickly. It's been half a year, hasn't it? I haven't seen you come to see your grandfather, have you forgotten about him? Seeing Zhou Yuanjue approaching, Zhou Shiyu stood up and waved to him with a kind and slightly reproachful tone. Grandpa, how have you been lately? Zhou Yuanjue approached and nodded at Zhou Shiyu. Okay, it's just that I'm not happy if you don't come see me. Come on, Gong, let me introduce you. This is my second brother's grandson. I'll ask you to take care of me when I have the opportunity in the future. Zhou Shiyu smiled and introduced to Gong Shouzhua beside him. Are you Gong Shouzhua? Zhou Yuanjue squinted his eyes and looked at Gong Shouzhua, asking directly. New book collection recommendation, end of this chapter.